I'd like to call the July meeting finance to order. Members present are Ms. Alt and Tom Fellner. Could I have a motion to accept the submitted minutes from last month if there are no corrections?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Alt makes the motion. I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is approval of the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda if there's no additions?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Can I ask you a question about that before you do that? Am I allowed to do that?
Certainly.
Can this email that I gave you be part of the appropriations? Because it came in late, we didn't get it added. But it'll be part of the appropriations
And
ordinance?
would it, if you're going to make it, is it going to be part of ordinance 2022-57 eventually?
Yes.
Okay, I will accept that.
Thank you.
We've heard Mr. Satterfield request expansion of the appropriation ordinance. I don't think that makes the agenda amended. However, I do need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll approve the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda.
Ms. Alt makes the motion. I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Agenda is approved. First discussion item.
Would you guys excuse Ken?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Ms. Alt, could I have a motion to excuse Mr. Bodkins from today's meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Alt makes the motion and I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Bodkins is excused.
thank you.
No, thanks for reminding me. You're fronting me $30 anyway, so. Oh, sorry. First ordinance is ordinance 2022-55 regarding the splash park. Mayor Leary's here or Ms. Ward, either would like to define that, please.
Just give me a second.
Sure,
Sorry to be late.
no worries.
Is the, let's see what you have in front of you. This is what I would describe as a partial list of budget adjustments.
First one's special, last one.
Pardon me?
Splash park.
Excuse me.
That's right.
Get reset.
This word one. Everyone, you might want to address this one.
How much do either of you know about? We bid it. It came in above the authorized amount.
Okay.
And we had one bidder and they explicitly said that there was no performance bond. So that makes it's a non-conforming bid. So we had no bid on the specifications that were laid out. And I'll avoid going down that road. There's so much.
Okay, the signs.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I will make it
posted
short.
early on.
Yeah, and
That's not
we have, it's never happened to us, knock on wood. Since Nikki's been service director, John Swain before that, since I've been married, we bid something and got no bidders. Okay, so it's an issue of, I think, and I wasn't at the meeting where there was a suspension of the rules, but it's just not, I don't think it's a good practice to get into. Had we had a better line of input or chain of conversation or whatever you want to say, we would have said, go this route first. That under the state purchasing plan, there is something that meets all the specs that I'd heard describe the needs, and we could do it more expeditiously. So here we are. The good news is that through state purchasing, this company has agreed to be able to complete the work this year. And as you look at the ordinance, pretty simple ordinance, 82,419.
What was the original?
75,000. So what I would suggest is you allow us to move with state purchasing. And once again, this is a freeze-funded project. So we'll try to either bring back to you or work with the auditor to get up to this amount from the 75 grand that was allocated.
When I was looking
Yeah.
at the proposal from the company, it looks
Right.
like there's a lot of stuff that has to be done prior to the concrete prep, all of that. Is that gonna cost, do we have the labor to do that by fall of 2022?
Well, I'm not sure which
It says,
component.
concrete and base prep is not included and is to be done by others. All site work, including sub-base and edging, is to be done by others. Prices for rubber and surfacing installation only. Please provide photos of the concrete to determine what additional prep work is needed. And then we're also responsible for security for all of it while they're doing that, to make sure the curing. So do we have the city labor to be able to do, if there is concrete work that needs done, is that something that we're able to?
This is what I anticipate, is if this is authorized, that we'll have that company come down and they will let us know what they think needs to be done. Our plan is to have more of a hard shutdown around Labor Day so that they can come in and get the work done this year. So the security issue, it'll be the same fenced in area that we've had since the start. So go ahead, please.
One other question, and it says, Aquaflex is not designed to be applied to submerged areas, including zero entry pools. Is that what this? No.
I think that's the pool that has like the ramp.
Okay.
This isn't submerged, it'll just be water.
The west end of the icy part,
Okay.
where you walk in, I think that's what that is. So
And then you said that there was no, the first meeting, you said that there was no something bond. What does that mean?
on the bid, there was no bid bond. So I did brush through that. There is no security from the contractor. And there's a couple other things that they excluded that are part of what we require in a contract. Come over, we can send you the proposal so you'd see better what I what I mean. It was actually more of a proposal than it was a bid. And so not only it was above the amount, 90-some thousand bucks, and it was non-conforming bid. So that was that part of why I'm suggesting that we go with state purchasing. The last point that you raised that I didn't mention is we don't have an estimate on the prep work, but my thoughts are to bring this group, once legislation is passed, down here and have them outline that. I really don't see that as direct labor. And so I see that as a small contract versus having us try to do something like grind off a certain amount of concrete. You recall on the concrete sections of Portland Way, we had to grind those for smoothness. It's I mean to blow it off. I'm not blowing it off, but it's a diamond grinder that grinds off. That's what they do.
It just looked like there was a lot of work that had to be done before.
There may be. I don't know that remains to be seen.
It does say if any, I mean, ours is already coded, so maybe that's what they mean, if there's something already on there, it's gotta be removed,
That's true.
so.
I'm hopeful that because we did that 5 years ago, that there won't be uneven spots or you have to do a lot of stuff. But you have to pass the legislation before we can find that. That's kind of, you have to pass it before you know what's in it. That's a bad joke, but no, I think we need to. I recommending that we take this step, keep the project moving forward, can get done this year, and then stay tuned for what might be. I don't think it's a project killer, I hope it's not, but those kind of things that you pointed out.
Would we have to have this supersede the previous legislation, or do we have to talk about the previous legislation at all?
Well, we have not formally rejected the bids, I don't think. Did you? Excuse me. No, I don't think we've rejected the bids. We kind of wanted to see if we're going to go forward. We don't intend to award them, but I don't want to, I think it's a good project. I'm not sure it will meet everyone's expectations, but it'll make it safer out there in a way that's still worth it. This cost, a little higher than we thought, I think it's still worth it.
So the bids are under the old legislation and the specific parameters. What are the deal breakers of those bids?
There was only one, and it was two things. One, over the amount, more than 10% over the amount that the council authorized. And they specifically said there's no bid bond in the bid. A quick example, and it'll sort of come up when we talk about paving, and any of the three bidders on our paving stuff not had a bid bond, we would have rejected the bids, and so it's pretty standard that you have to have a bid bond.
And so, 10% in excess is still around this number.
Yeah, it was 90-some thousand. I'm sorry, Doc, that I don't remember. You remember what that?
Right around 98.
98,000. So it's way far and above. Anyway, so
all right.
We have time to think about it, but I think it's important to get it on the agenda. This sounds like a stampede. It's not meant to be. I don't want to have it fall into 23.
Right.
And then we can't get started, and then we delay the opening of it. I think there's a real good chance between early mid-September to until when it gets cold that we can get it completed. So
It does say down here, proposal good for 30 days, so it probably would be good to go through as an emergency. So that way we get to keep that. And then that special discount of $52.61 off.
Yeah, the 2023 the bid they did send to was quite a bit higher. Because Matt sent me that, and I printed that first, and I got myself confused.
And in the past years, beyond Labor Day, we've kept the splash park open on hot weekends because it's still brutal in September.
Yes.
But this will be kind of a hard closing for
now
maintenance
hear
and repair.
this. Get a hose.
Sure.
And do it the old-fashioned way. So anyways, I'm one of the reasons beyond the price quote, good for a short period of time, is that we'd like to get it in this year.
The bid for spring of 23 is, that Matt sent me, is $88,034. I did not include that because,
Okay.
Thank you. I'm getting tired of that, by the way, all this stampeding to get contracts and then I can't get the supplies. So, anyways, that's our world more than anything specific.
If there's nothing else, I'd like a motion to move ordinance 2022-55 on full council.
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Ault makes the motion. I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is discussion on ordinance 2022-57.
Yeah, I think that's what I was all fired up to talk about. It's a number of appropriation changes,
Okay.
summer transfers.
I'm sorry. Well, I'm going out of order. That's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No.
Nick Key put together a really good email that I'm going to refer to, but I think got translated onto here. So if you'll bear with me for a second. Okay, the first few in your ordinance are fuel adjustments. That'd be section 2. Let me see here. There's one in 204, so that would be 2, 3. Help me. Is
2,
that
4, and 5 sections.
2, 4,
Yeah.
and 5? So they are kind of what one would expect, and I'm assured that this will take care of their needs. So that's those sections. I don't think for a second, and I'm pestering about this. I think that we're going to fall short in some other departments. And as specific to fuel, but a general statement is this is not. We tried to get everything onto this ordinance so we aren't coming back each meeting and here's an adjustment here and there. This is as much as this can be pulled together, and there's a certain, I don't want to say urgency, but these are important ones, especially important supplementals or adjustment, especially when you get to section 6.
Can I go back to 3?
Yeah.
Materials, this is, it, as stated, for the swimming pool, chemicals,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
Second,
If I said fuel, that's my bad.
no,
Yeah,
you
it's
didn't.
chemical.
But I just wanted to go back to section 3. You did. You said 2, 4, 5
Yeah.
were fuel. Section 3 seemed self-explanatory. I didn't want to take that bait.
They're small, right? They're small amounts, but
Sure.
don't. I think we've got some other ones that'll run dry on us before the end of the year.
Okay, section 6.
Okay, section 6 is where I started to go before. It's the big chemical shortfall. We're going to also transfer about 45,000. I'm not sure if that's on here or not.
It's section 9.
So section 9 and section 6 are designed to cover the shortfall in chemicals.
For water treatment.
Yeah, and there was a real nice spreadsheet. I don't have it in front of me. Do you happen to have that?
Yeah, some of Josh's chemicals, one of his chemicals is up 250% this year. I think a bunch of others are up between 20 and 30%. So one of them, caustic soda is up 185%. We're very, very short.
And so he provided, just a shout out to him or whatever. Josh did specifically a real good job of bringing those in for tonight's meeting. So 601, I'll say it and then it'll happen. Shouldn't spring another leak. I think this covers what he expects to get him through. So, anyways, 7. That's enterprising as well on behalf of our new superintendent. We were going to buy a vehicle. Okay, 2 things happened. The price went way up. Pickup truck.
Pickup truck went from $28,000 to $42,000.
And the other good thing about that is we couldn't get it in a timely way. So we're gonna cancel that purchase order and apply those funds. Believe it needs council's approval to make the transfer. Heck, wouldn't be in here with it. But anyways,
Because it's a 2020 purchase order, so we need to reappropriate.
okay. So it's encumbered right now for the vehicle. We'll unencumber that. Okay, that releases the money back to the water fund, wastewater fund, sewer fund, 603. But then what we're asking is you reappropriate that money and tie it together is not the right word, but combine it with this supplemental to be able to cover a similar shortfall there.
So we're reappropriating it back into the fund?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then,
And then there will be 35,000 to be used later on in section 9?
right.
Okay.
It is, in terms of, that's a lot of money. We aren't buying a truck, that'd make some people happy. But on the other hand, there's the notorious Fenton dryer. Okay, it was a decision made in 12, I think. We looked into our debt. It's a big sewer fund debt, continuing to pay that off. It's been a pain for everyone. And so not tonight, but as you look downstream for improvements in the sewer fund from a finance or utility committee point of view, either one, what are we gonna do about the Fenton dryer long-term is something to put over here and think about. So what we're doing is repairing something that we still, we owe until 2030. So I'm like, wow, we can't sell it, nobody wants it. It was,
Is it
turns
dry
out to be,
poop?
huh?
Does it dry poop?
Yeah, it's what it does. And so it used a lot of natural gas. It's not widely used, and somehow it was purchased, I don't know, 2012, and then we owe out on into, so we get,
$3 million.
so I guess we gotta fix it, because we still owe $3 million on it. Oh, well. What a crybaby I am tonight. So that's the Fenton dryer. That's help me sections. Oh my golly, section 7. So well prepared. And then there's a supplemental. There's a transfer and a supplemental. Would you help me on that?
2 purchase orders are closing out.
Never mind.
Yes.
Had a chance, it seemed like we were on top of it by closing out purchase orders to the supplemental. I screwed that up. So anyways, that's how we're gonna fund that. That's what those sections are designed to do.
And it was 7 and what? I'm sorry? What other section?
Just 7.
Just 7, okay.
And that $35,000
All right.
covers 2 purchase orders.
Yeah, because it's the same fund, I combined them, sorry
Okay.
about that.
Okay. Moving right along, I'm gonna stop and hand this off to Nikki. I'm really doing a bad job. Oh, no, yeah, I definitely want to hand this off to Nikki. This is sort of that's why it's in finance. The Southeast Storm Sewer Project, number 4. Number 4, got a budget adjustment, got bumped by the cost. It went up on the estimate from the engineer, $170,000. What section 8 says is $200,000, because I don't want to sort of come back here again, because when we bid it, so there's a bit of a cushion. When you look at that estimate, $670,000, there's a contingency that is, I want to say 10%, but I don't, and we can get you that if you want to see that. But there's a contingency in it, and what I'm suggesting is that we don't supplementally appropriate too little and not be able to award the contract.
So this is for the actual infrastructure?
Yeah.
It's already been designed?
Yep,
Okay.
and we don't want to sell it, we're not going to ask to sell it until we get the supplementally appropriate. It's kind of ready to go. And my estimate is that I'll be in November, maybe December sale. But the shortfall, our effort was to get all of this straightened out. We got large parts of it, so. What I think is important to begin to think about is the next projects. This gets us just west of, shy of First Avenue. So the next ones of these projects as you go, to the east are going to be increasingly expensive. So begin to think about it. Well, First Avenue, won't make you stay here all night, but it sounds like it's going to rain. The next one, most of that project is the outlet that would go from the end of First Avenue roughly back to the res back there, the Kobe Park reses. That's where it would outlet. So a lot of the cost is just setting that up to be able to be the outlet for phases 6, 7, 8, kind of, to get all the way to east, out to East Park and that area. So the current design for 5, it only goes as far as, if you think in your mind's eye, on First Avenue, there's kind of a hill, and I want to say Walnut. It's Walnut, it's not Smith. Isn't it?
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it goes up to the hill. It doesn't go all the way back to Dawson. So before it's even designed, I want to make it pretty clear publicly that project that will be kind of pricey, I think the project limits are not far enough south. Having said all of that, hell, I'm not sure we can afford to go all the way out to Dawson. But if you're familiar with that area, there's a low spot that ponds water behind First Avenue. It will be the west side of First Avenue. There's an apartment complex, but there's a consistent stormwater issue back there. And so the question is, think about it, we can talk about it over the next year or so, is should we modify the design to and that's what we'll do. We'll go from Harding Way to Dawson, even if it takes a few more years to get there, versus only take it to the top of that initial, where gravity will bring the water back down. So without getting too tedious about it, I'm recommending that we supplement that. I hope this, vote this out and pass it, because I think we have to go ahead with that project. This supplements that. It's gives us a little cushion, we think, but don't expect to see the ordinance to come back to authorize the service director to bid it until, I don't know, September, October. Okay.
I kind of got lost there for a
Sorry.
second. No, you mentioned future projects.
Yeah.
That's all part of the plan. This one refers to part 4?
4.
Okay. And is this included in that Dawson extension, or is that part 5?
Everything we've done up until now has covered the area. That it's provided drainage out to Dawson. If you think of Riblet and those streets that are in and around the Covert Enterprise area, those have all tried to outlet as far south as providing relief for Dawson. So I'm not quite sure why. I think it was a scoping decision based on what the engineer thought were available resources. And without complicating it too much, that's been, you think about it, that has been the City of Gallion's consistent projects in the issue 1. That's been on long term. Prior to the switch from the charter, we're going to provide stormwater, halfways modern or moderate stormwater drainage for that, essentially a third of the town. So anyways, that is that.
section
the next
nine.
one
Okay.
is the, Nikki on 9, that is storm, excuse me,
It's more chemical money for
water. It's the other part of that chemical money. It's kind of staggering how much those chemicals have gone up. And there's very little way around it. Full disclosure, transparency on this. I think we got a little bit, I wouldn't want to have been the patient the way we did surgery on that part of it. We got at the chemical budget. We own that. We cut it too much. It's not just the prices went up.
Oh, tornado.
Where?
Here,
Yeah,
I'm covered.
that's what we're all getting.
He said earlier today it was a bomb shelter, so we see maybe not this one.
Yeah, it's like we're kind of wrong.
What's it say?
Take shelter now.
Yeah.
Where's it at?
Here, now. Take
It's not
shelter
even, it
now.
doesn't even, yeah, it's like,
Looks like
It'd
cheese.
be interesting if Crawford County sets off the siren.
yeah.
That
I
should
mean,
trigger
I'm
that.
waiting to hear that. If we hear that, then I might go down.
Yep.
You knew that was like that was a bit of a sore subject. Did you do? Maybe call
Tornado
that?
warning till 8 p.m. Crawford County.
Stick thunderstorm capable of producing tornadoes were located over Crestline at 7:30 p.m.
Okay,
It
so it's
doesn't
past
have
us.
more.
So,
Well, anyways, maybe give Randy a call. She's got a screen in front of her. Yes.
Yeah, but the tornado warning goes off as Crawford County.
I got you. Okay. Well, we can either take cover or try to plow ahead. 9. I'm gonna plow ahead. There were a lot of hours and we didn't get as much to you, but we gotta get this stuff in the pipeline. This is the other part of the chemical budget bust that, as I said before that went off, is very little to do with the former superintendent out there or the current guy. We didn't give him enough. We didn't really anticipate that spiking, and maybe next year they'll come back down. It sounds snotty, but I think there's a lot of gouging's the wrong word, but there's a lot of advantage in the stuff that we need, and they know that.
Sure.
That is, we're seeing quite
They're
a,
gonna use Coleman supply chain, the backup at Los Angeles port, blah, 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 until it just wears out. So,
right,
Yeah.
so it's 45 grand, is the other half of but I think that's enough chemical money. We tried to make sure we didn't come back for more chemical money, so I think we are, this will take care of that. Ken?
the radar shows the hook past us.
yeah, it's north.
Yeah.
Continue on. All die on our shields today.
This is 10 is awardable. This is the paving project. Nikki probably has the numbers. The apparent low bidder was a little bit, it was within 10%, but it was over the amount authorized in the ordinance. When you look at the streets that would be cut to make it satisfy the limits of the ordinance, it's just not, there's no good candidate. I'd like to say without being too corny, all of those streets need done as soon as possible, along with other ones that the 535 or whatever it is the bid was. Just, we're stretching pretty hard to have that big of a paving budget. Okay. So that's what that is.
That's section 10 is paving.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the kind of an unintended effect, like where did the money come from? Where did that $35,000 come from, 100? Well, it came from the previous decision to take capital improvements funds and pay down some of that debt. So if you look at the budget in 201, there was 800 and something thousand that was appropriated to begin with. And when we decided not to do that, when we renewed the notes, there was less there. I think it's 820 and 740 or something like that. I think those are roughly the numbers. The original appropriation was maybe a little higher. So hopefully that makes sense also. So there was unneeded appropriation. We're saying transfer that up there to cover the cash shortfall in the ordinance. I'll look it up just because I don't want to wing it too much. So I'll get to the appropriation. So anyways, that's 10. I'll get it to you before we have it. Okay, Brian, you're on until we get to that next one. This is a little bit new, number 11, and it has to do with adjusting the appropriation on the freeze projects. Okay, I think it goes like this. Help me when I screw it up. In the 2022 budget put together late last year, we estimated $400,000, excuse me, of revenue for this year out of the freeze fund. Okay. The good news is we got 470. And so in order to be able to cover the commitments, we need this section 10, which is supported by the check, the revenue that we got from the Freeze Foundation. Pretty close?
Well, there was carryover of about $580,000 plus the 470 that we got this year. We only appropriated $400,000. There was $170,000 that was carried over from last year's appropriations. So the cash balance as it sits today is about $840,000, of which $340,000 is already appropriated. The current budget only has $44,000 left that we can appropriate. So if we don't take, in essence, we appropriated $400,000 from last year's money, but we didn't appropriate anything for this year. That's more in line of what we're looking at. So there's money there that needs to be appropriated, but we can't spend it until we appropriate it. So to do the project there, and we talked late this afternoon about it, was the only way to be able to do that. There we go. It's a little late, but.
Well, there's one coming in from Marion, I think is the bad actor now.
Okay. Well, so I think we're saying a similar thing.
Yes.
We want to adjust the revenue that we expect in the freeze fund to the commitments, and we didn't. Again, we won't wear you out with mistakes that were made in November of last year. I think everybody did the best they could, but we underestimated that. I'd hate to be in a situation where we expected not 400,000 this year, but we blue skied it and said we get 500 and some thousand. So it's where a conservative estimate on freeze fund revenue needs to be adjusted. I don't want to utterly confuse it, but I think that's...
The fact of the matter is that there's money, there's cash there to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And I want to say at the same time, while we've kind of gotten a look at all these things, what I want to do is go back, because we didn't get these until late. We need to go back and make sure that the cash is there in all of these funds. And I will report to you that at the next meeting, assuming you approve all this stuff, that it's good to go. I'm not saying they didn't look at it, but I wanna verify that there's, what I don't wanna do is appropriate money and there's not cash there to do it. Cause that's a problem.
Just as.
So you want them to not
Is there a
do
basement in
11?
the theater?
No, I think 11 is good. What I'm saying is I'm also want to verify 1 through 10 that the cash balance is there. And just get a report from my office that that's
Gotcha. 10, real quickly, those numbers were amazingly right. It's 820 was what was debt service. We aren't borrowing as much. We needed 746 100 for this year's borrowing for the street fund projects. So paying that down has freed up the cash, and so we're able to put it in place, or however you want to state that. That's where the $35,000 is coming from, to be able to award the bids. It came in a little over the ordinance.
Maybe she's texting me, she said, I hope you stay there, I think there's gonna be a garage.
This is the safest place you can be.
Yeah.
This building's a bomb shelter.
Yeah.
It really
So
is.
yeah.
It is.
So that's what I have on. That's what I have on 57. And I know it was long, and it's a little bit. You're gonna have to look at it and have some questions about it, I think, probably. But I'd like to get it up and on the agenda. And
We have an addition to this.
Yeah, and then you emailed it. We got this late and we didn't have a chance to actually put it together. This week has been atrocious. But this goes with Jason's needs at the health department that we want to add. So you're probably going to add 14, 15, and 16 or whatever. We want to add that in there.
Yeah.
But
all right, Jason. You can't fumble it worse than I have tonight. So, anyways, I know those are probably his. You're gonna put those on that. All right.
The appropriations for the fund that was created.
Okay. Oh.
So we created the fund and now we got to appropriate it. So while that's not added on the ordinance, we anticipate getting the information to Julie so that she can add it to the ordinance. So that's what the email is giving you, and I'm not trying to steal your thunder, giving you the information of what we're going to be doing, and putting it into the right lines. I don't know how many different sections that's going to take to do this.
So this is gonna be simple, like transfer in, transfer out.
There's going to be an advance in, there's going to be an appropriate the funds.
And each will have a section of
Yes.
this stereo.
But it just makes sense to add it all into this one ordinance. We're doing all these things and we'll get it done, get it moved over so that they can spend the money in this new fund.
You guys just pass it out, when you pass out with this added information, it should be okay since you have the information, you may not have it.
Jason, you wanna take a swing at this also, further explanation?
Yes, so this is another COVID grant that we've received, similar to the other COVID grants that we've received in the past. And especially with the uptick of cases lately, like I think there's even greater need than before.
So this is all COVID related, not opioid related, as in the sections that I skipped over, okay?
What are you gonna do with the money?
So we do have a summary list on this page. Some of that's going to include contact tracing, where we have staff that kind of figure out where the cases are coming from and help like send notices of isolation, and some of it's going to go into advertising, some of it's going to go into medical supplies, Some of it's gonna be to buy updated equipment like computers to help us more easily carry out the work.
So I think at the last council meeting, we created the fund. And what we'll do is, where the revenue is, and we'll advance the money. And then once we get it, we'll pay it back to the 230 fund. So that's your advance in. So an advance is a payback, it's not a transfer. I apologize, we don't have it. It's, again, we're trying to get those paid. We've been trying to get the loan, the debt payment taken care of. This is just only so much.
More on Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Could I have a motion to move modified ordinance 2022-57 on to full council?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Alt makes the motion. I second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. I skipped over a new fund creation, ordinance 2022-56, regarding the opioid settlement. Jason, any? Okay.
So in 2021, ordinance 2021-72, council authorized Mr. Palmer to enter an agreement with, this is the pharmaceutical settlement in the state of Ohio. The state got $800 something million. We were authorized to get it. We have subsequently gotten a memo from the state auditor's office that states that the money that we get has to be put into a separate fund. There's only specific uses and it has to be tracked. The fact is that on Friday the 15th, we got $3,803.10 of this settlement. So that money has been put into the general fund right now and it's sitting there, but it needs to be put into a special fund that we have yet to create. That we need to create that. We may actually need to be I need to talk to Mr. Palmer to see if this ordinance that we did in 21 meets the parameters, because there's guidelines that says you have to say what you can and can't use the money for. And I apologize to Julie, I apologize to you. I do not have a fund number, you do not have an ordinance in front of you. Quite frankly, the urgency was not there to get this done on top of everything else that we've got going on. We need to really sit down because I just can't pluck a number out of the sky. Depends on where the money comes from, whether it's a 300 fund, whether it's a 400 fund, whether it's a 100 fund. There's a fund number that goes along with it depending upon what this is. And that's what Eunice and I are going to try to figure out with Cindy McCafferty. But Cindy McCafferty said it has to be a separate fund. It's not hurting us right now. If I don't get, you don't have it in front of you, so it would probably have to be added to the agenda, the actual ordinance on Tuesday. That's assuming I get it. If I don't, I'm not sure what.
Well, I mean, there isn't, there's a little bit of an urgency to get it into its own fund and get it out of the general fund.
Correct.
It's not priority one, we are going to do it, so if it's not this council meeting, then it can be added to the next one, and maybe we can also add the ordinance getting it out of the general fund.
If I can put it together, I would like to get you the ordinance that establishes the fund, and then does the ordinance that puts the money into it and puts it in the right lines. Right. All at once, we get it done, get it out of the way. It's not a lot of money. We don't know. I mean, there's certain things that we can use it for. It's pretty much police and fire, because everything else has got to deal with treatment and all that stuff, of which we're not going to deal with. We're not the only entity. I actually called Bucyrus and talked to Joyce Monday when I was doing the revenue, and I said, where does this money go? She goes, I don't know, I put mine in the general fund. They didn't have a fund either. So
is that, is there more money on the way?
Mr. Palmer thought we were getting, our share was gonna be around 60,000.
Okay.
But the question now, the conversation that we had is that 60,000 part of this district of which we're part of, and then we're only getting the 3,800. Bucyrus got a little over $4,000. So I'm not sure. The fact of the matter is we've got the money, it's in the bank. We can't spend it until we put it in the fund, and then we get a look and see what exactly we can do for it. So,
Okay. Since we don't have a fund number, we'll hold this to a discussion, and on Tuesday we will.
if you see ordinance 2022-56 in front of you, you probably need to add it to the agenda.
Right.
But that's what it will be.
Okay.
Well, I'll work with Julian.
Same ordinance number.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
the details.
I just don't have
Okay.
the language. And then there may actually, if that's the case, and we get it all together, maybe a subsequent ordinance that would be 59 probably. We could get that. No guarantees.
Well, we dodged the tornadoes. Looking good. Next item, then and now, resolution 2022-10.
It's a, then and now for chemicals for the water plant,
That was, okay.
yes.
Yeah,
So we had those sections previously that, and this is
This is a bill
gives
that,
you authorization to spend it.
this is actually an invoice we already received for chemicals that was higher than the purchase
All
order.
right.
higher than-
I think we got the money, we don't have to worry about the appropriations to get that out. That's-
No,
It's all right, put it in there.
Okay.
Apparently, we're good.
Yeah.
Could I have a motion to move resolution 2022-10 on full council?
I'll make that.
Ms. Alt makes the motion, I second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next is staffing ordinance 2022-58. Is that just a little typo there?
Yep.
Okay,
22.
just jamming you out there, Julie.
Oh, 2020, yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right. Thought this was a special.
No, it's not, yeah, I didn't even see that. What are you talking about?
All right. Who's got this one?
Well, I guess the Thomas's office does,
Okay,
they were, you guys were adding the deputy auditor position.
Right.
So you needed to put it into the staffing ordinance.
so I misspoke last meeting.
Well, Thomas had asked
and,
that.
and I heard Thomas in the back, saying that he was going to talk to Brian. so-
Yeah.
But this has,
Yeah, he hasn't talked to Brian yet.
No, he has not talked to Brian about this.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, man, I haven't seen it either, so.
All right.
you have.
See you next month.
You can,
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm not railroading this, I know that there's been discussion about this deputy auditor position, but.
so they said they were in favor of the last meeting to go ahead, so, but Doc had said, so I went ahead and just got the ordinance done. So,
Okay.
But I would
So it was,
respectfully, I don't have to vote on it, but it's not budgeted. It doesn't, I think there was discussion. It's not clear whether this is gonna be a union position or not, civil service or not, and this is like, you add this to the tree maybe after you decide how you're gonna pay for it this year and next year and going forward. So that's my unsolicited.
well, here's where
Yeah.
the hiccup occurred was, I made a statement about not having to revise the staffing tree. Don't know really where I got that.
Right.
I can
Idea
tell you where
from-
you got that, because that's what I was told.
Okay.
I
And
was
then
told that directly.
in the background, it was like, well, Mr. Palmer said to Brian, oh, we need to talk. And so that's how that went. I mean, I think the consent, so it turned into a discussion.
Okay.
And
Good.
the consensus was, you know, hey, it's Brian's call, because that was my impression,
Yes.
that it was the auditor, we got an ordinance because apparently it was required, according to the law director. I mean, that's why it's here.
What was required?
Changes to the staffing
The staffing
ordinance.
ordinance, if you look
Okay.
at it, yeah.
But since no one was aware or consulted, I think that Tuesday night should be held to a discussion of the position, the type of position, where we're gonna get the money from. I mean,
How about differentiation of duties, a position description?
Well,
The
I think
discussion
there's-
happened, and well, everybody can have offer their opinion, but the unaware of this. My take on it was, don't fill the vacant account clerk, hire something, the person who is a deputy auditor, a higher skilled person that can act in the absence of, but also perform some of the duties that have historically been performed by the two clerks. Okay. The decisions made by the appointed authority, I think they're in the process of getting somebody hired to fill the clerk position. So,
well, the
What
clerk's
they're saying
on the
is-
current staffing tree. This
yeah.
position is not. So that's what
I got
tonight's
it.
discussion was about.
So
So-
I would think you would want a position description and a fancy word, delineation of the duties between the account clerks and this position that presumably is a non-union position, non-civil service, using the fiduciary appointments that the auditor has. So I think that's it. But I don't, even if it's a appointee, that they don't have a position description, there ought to be an understanding about the duties of the new person and the union and the existing person, and then what this additional position is going to do. PD would be a position description, would be a good place to start. I need more planning.
I guess is that kind of, were you thinking of having a deputy auditor in addition to the two clerks?
Yes.
Okay. So adding in a fourth person to the office.
There's been discussion about that. And yeah, right now, the conversation would be that it would be a fiduciary position or an appointed position, not civil service.
What's going on?
There was a year and a half, 2 years ago, I don't know when, the start of a position description that was done that needs to be modified. Because that position basically started out with purchasing and stuff like that, and it's not just going to be purchasing. The goal would be to hopefully have somebody in here so there's continuity if there's a change in position, if my chair changes names and bodies, that somebody is in the office that knows what the heck is going on top of the two clerks that are there. Certainly it's fiduciary that the next person has the right to change that position, but you would hope that wouldn't happen. And to be able to assist in the roles, certainly there's some description that needs to be done, but we got to get ourselves in a position where we're making progress.
Is that something you think that can wait until 23, or is that something that you would hope to see happen in 22? A perfect world.
Perfect world happens this year. I mean, soon, but I mean, we've got a new employee starting a week from Monday, and the tongue-in-cheek problem is, are we gonna have time to train him?
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons for last year. I mean,
Yes.
that was given.
Tag and train 2, let's go before we get long, all the way to Kansas or wherever it is. It's like, how are you gonna train 2 people? I understand the goal, but there's not, if there's somebody out there that can step in there and understand this, what I think you'll find is that we'll have this position higher compensated. Gotta be, because they can be gone with flash. Right?
Right.
So that you're gonna pay them some, so that, I don't know where that's accounted for, so I don't know. Surprised by it, I'm not opposed, but for me, it's more of an issue of staging and the issues, and the duties. Brian's right, there was a desire to upgrade, what they were called, fiscal clerks, is that what it was called? That the auditor's office positions were gonna be paid higher than. We did a point value of that. We brought somebody to come in and say, are all the account clerks' duties in approximately the same? Objective, professional people did that, not internal. And they determined that the billing office clerks and these clerks, their positions were substantially the same in terms of compensation, and that it was not warranted to make a higher pay grade for the people who were in the fiscal clerk. So that's a refresher for some and maybe new to other people about the positions and the effort to try to upgrade those positions.
Well, I think long-term, that's a goal to set. I think defining the duties is something that is not an unreasonable expectation for the position. So I don't even know if it's warranted to discuss it Tuesday. I mean, the consensus was okay the other day, but I think we need to come back and I'll commit to Brian to sit down and get that done. But probably not this week.
I'm working on the position description. I've already had made notes on what the compensation would be to include the benefits and all that stuff. Okay. That's another number. It's certainly unappropriated. It has to be coming from someplace. Definitely.
All right, well, let's get out of here before we get blown away. As the next meeting, August 17th, 7 p.m. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion.
Ms. Ault makes the motion, I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, and we are adjourned. Let's go save our animals.
I know.